Hi, I'm Steve Lawson. I'm a librarian here at Colorado College, and this is a brief video intended for CC faculty, where I'll give you a quick introduction to one of our newer subscription databases, ProQuest Historical Newspapers, Black Newspapers. We're doing a little more to promote Black newspapers than we often do with new databases for two reasons. First, we think this is a very good resource that could be useful for teaching and research across departments and disciplines. Second, we have a one-year trial funding for the database from the Dean of the Faculty. If teaching faculty find Black newspapers useful, we hope to get ongoing funding for future years. So just what is ProQuest Historical Newspapers, Black Newspapers, or as I'm going to call it, just Black Newspapers? This is the ProQuest page that tells us about it. It is a collection of full-text scans of newspapers produced by African Americans for an African American readership. The titles include papers across the United States, including the Atlanta Daily World, Chicago Defender, Los Angeles Sentinel. Most of the coverage is from the 1930s to 2010, but you can see that some are earlier, like the Baltimore Afro-American coverage starts in 1893. If you've used our subscriptions to the historical New York Times, Chicago Tribune, and others, you're already familiar with historical newspapers, and this uses the exact same database or same interface. So let me quickly demonstrate a search though. You'll find this linked in Databases A to Z from the library homepage. And we're just calling it Black Newspapers Collection. We can do a search, of course, on just about anything. I thought instead of trying something that was specifically about the African-American experience, we'd try the Democratic National Convention in Chicago in 1968 and see how that was covered by these Black newspapers, perhaps particularly the Chicago Defender. So we'll try Democratic National Convention. And we can add the dates here. So I could say specific date range. I know it was in late August of 1968. So we can search from August 25th through September 5th of 1968. You can see that we can also choose, if we wanted to, the kind of document type that we're looking for. You can see that it's all the different kinds of things that you would find in a newspaper. And I'll show you that kind of coverage once we get some results here. So I'll do that search. We get 146 results from the 10 or 11 different papers that we have here. And we can see that it's coming from the different papers: Los Angeles Sentinel, the New Journal, the Chicago Defender, and so on. I'm going to look at this result right here. Convention fray provokes sober thought. Reporter expresses relief, disquiet after battles. So this is one of the Chicago Defender's reporters reflecting on her experience. And you see that it takes us right to the scanned image of the paper, and we can read that article here on the screen if we want to. At the top right, we can download it as a PDF, cite it, email it, print it, all the things you would normally expect a database to be able to do. One of the things that's really good about the way that these databases work is we can see the article in context. We can say page view PDF over here on the left, and it's going to show us, well, this was an article that was a front page headline. Daily Defender reporter tells of bloodbath. We can also turn off that little sidebar there to see the full screen more easily. We can browse through this paper one page at a time if we want to. We can also go up here where it says browse this issue and click on that. It gives us a slightly different and more useful kind of browse here, where I can go directly to the end if we want, and we can see we're not just going to be able to find headline news and major national news. We're going to get sports. We're going to get, if we go back a few pages into the paper, we're going to get classified ads. If we continue back, leafing through the paper page by page, we're going to get things like human interest stories. Like here's one here, and we can click on, in this kind of view, we can click on any of these articles and see the full text. And so here we have a story about the RC Cola booth at a dentist convention. So, we're going to get comic strips, we're going to get want ads, we're going to get department store ads, we're going to get pretty much anything that would be in a 20th century newspaper. You're going to find those in here. So clearly it's a very rich resource that students can use for all different kinds of research projects in your classes. Last thing I wanted to show in this quick overview, if we go over here where it says change databases, we can search the ProQuest Historical Newspapers Black newspaper collection alongside the major dailies here, Atlanta, Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York papers that we subscribe to those historical ProQuest databases as well. And so if I do a similar search here, and we go to publication dates, I can say on this date, we can say August of 1968, and search. The number of results jumps dramatically, and the Black newspapers get somewhat overwhelmed by the number of articles that are published by the mainstream papers. If we look here, we can see a list of them all. And we can see, in the month of August, Chicago Tribune published 500 articles about the convention taking place in that city, whereas the Chicago Daily Defender, between the daily and the weekend edition, published about 120. But we can see them all together here, and so it'd be easy for students to find coverage in the papers like New York Times and Chicago Tribune and compare and contrast that to the kind of coverage that they find in the Black newspapers as well. I think that's about it for this introduction. I'd be happy to talk to any of you about how you might use this for your classes. You can also contact your liaison librarian. You can do that. Library homepage, consult a librarian, and find out who the liaison librarian is for your department if you don't know. And we'd be very interested in working with you to talk about assignments that might use ProQuest Historical Newspapers, Black newspapers. And if you do end up using it, we'd be very interested in hearing your stories about how you found it and how your students found it, because we'll be needing to make a case for ongoing funding if we're going to keep the subscription in years to come. All right, thank you for your attention, and I appreciate it.